did Bitcoin start making sense for you, actually?
I was walking around the same park finishing the books. It was the second half of the book. And he mentions this idea of stock to flow. And as a gold guy, the concept of stock to flow just made sense to me. And as he said it, he didn't even need to finish the part of the book. He just had to say stock to flow. And I just realized like the matrix just opened up because I was like, I have been looking at Bitcoin as an equity and I should have been looking at it as a commodity. And I should have been looking at it as a commodity. And it just instantly just made sense. It was a very weird moment. It gives me goosebumps to this day. And from that moment, I took my phone out. I had a Coinbase account because me and my friend 2 years before that had bought some Bitcoin and sold it 2 weeks later, doubled our money, and thought we were really great geniuses. So I had a Coinbase account. So I opened up the Coinbase account. It was still linked to my bank account. So I instantly wired money. I instantly wired 50 grand and bought Bitcoin. All of my friends that are wealthy and that are entrepreneurial are focused on Bitcoin and AI. That's it.
Welcome back to the Orange Peel Podcast. I'm your host, Nikki, and today's episode is going to be a really, really exciting one. I'm sitting down today with BritishHODL, and I'm going to be very, very direct here. I just recently turned 20, and my goal is to get to one full Bitcoin, but I really want to do it fast. I mean, I want to do it like ideally by the time I graduate. Now, that's not in 30 years. That's like very, very soon. So I want to see what I can do to actually execute this goal and actually get there. So this episode is going to be entirely about how a young person does that for real, getting into the work, the mindset, the traps, the velocity, staying away from all the fluff, all the excuses, and just hardcore action planning. So, British, thank you so much for joining me today. I am so excited to get into this.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. So, just to kind of preface things and maybe give a bit of a brief before I get into the actual meat part of this conversation, your entire channel's premise is getting to one Bitcoin. Now, I'm sure you've seen in the past few months, we've seen a rise in content that's talked about young people getting to zero point 0.1 or zero point 0.01. And I'm just curious as to what your thoughts are on, on that. Like, do you think it's possible for young people to still get to one Bitcoin, including all of the, the price action and everything?
I don't think it's possible for anyone to get to one Bitcoin unless they want to.
Okay.
That's the difference. You have to want to get where you want to get to. And so, I don't provide and all of my content over the last 5 years, I don't provide any promise that anyone's going to get anywhere. It's, do you want to? And if you want to, then hundreds of people, if not thousands at this point, have watched a piece of my content or whatever, and that's allowed them to continue to drive forward and have achieved one Bitcoin. So it's not about whether it's possible or not. Everything's always possible. I don't believe in the impossible. So it's a case of, are you willing to hold that space for one Bitcoin or not?
What does holding that space actually look like?
It looks like absolutely being utterly relentless towards a singular focus, which is, by the way, how any, talking, this is kind of interesting because what I want to mention here is going to be considered a little bit hocus pocus, right? And the idea of manifesting the things that you want. But, what's quite funny is, everyone always says, oh, that's hocus pocus, that's this, that, and the other. Um, except the really rich people. I've never ever had a really rich person tell me that the idea that your thoughts create your reality is a hocus pocus idea. It's always the poor people that say that. It's quite entertaining. And so, look, what it involves is understanding the responsibility of holding one Bitcoin. What it involves is understanding what it means if you don't get to one Bitcoin. What it means is understanding that there is only one chance to get to one Bitcoin. It means that there is an understanding of the fact that there is finality of scarcity with this particular asset, like there's never been for any other asset. It is understanding that one Bitcoin is a significant position to hold in this new world that's being created, and it is understanding that you will get one Bitcoin under any circumstances. Get to one Bitcoin or die trying. Borrowing from 50 Cent.
I want to hammer a little bit further on this one Bitcoin idea. I mean, why do you push people towards one Bitcoin instead of, smaller like fractions of a Bitcoin as we've seen?
Yeah, I mean, when I started, one Bitcoin was roughly $3,000 to $5,000. Right. That's when I got involved in Bitcoin. So, but it's not just because of that, because I could have easily changed the message, right? I'm sure you've seen it. Like, there's a lot of people now talking about get to 0.25, get to point 0.5. And the reality is this is weakness, right? The reason why they're saying that is because they're weak. They don't see themselves holding one Bitcoin. They don't see themselves having the reality of getting to one Bitcoin. They don't see themselves as part of this economy of whole coiners and this wealth pool of whole coiners. There's something, in wealth management, there's something called an ultra high net worth person, right? And an ultra high net worth person is basically at this moment in time anybody who's got above a $36 million net worth. For Bitcoin, it is whole coiners. You're either a whole coiner and you meet the threshold, or you're not. And I believe that in this economy that's being created, there's going to be situations and facilities and benefits for people who are whole coiners, and then there's going to be everybody else. So the question is do you see yourself being in that position? How comfortable are you being a Bitcoin elite? A lot of people are uncomfortable because they're trained into this happy hippie way of thinking, which is like it's about all of us, when the reality is everything that we've ever learned about humanity is that your singular focus should be yourself, and that allows you to actually create the world that you want to create.
Interesting. I Let's touch a bit on this mindset thing here further. What are some of the fundamental things that, you have to shift in order to get into that mindset of I need to get into one Bitcoin? And, how does that relate to being young? Is it still possible for us even though we might not have like the capital or like the means to actually like be putting the money into Bitcoin right now?
Yeah, the brainwashing of your generation really started. It was kind of seeping in when I was your age. And it's this idea that it's more about the collective, it's more about the community, it's more about the overall, vibe of humanity, et cetera, et cetera. Um, and really the mindset that's required is that you've got to be relentless. Now, a lot of people can do this from different perspectives. I can only tell you what I need to tap into in order to get that drive out of myself. And that is a feeling of my back being against the wall. And, there has to be an explosion of energy that allows me to accomplish things and be relentless and do things that the average person would just um, not want to do. Learning new things, whatever is needed. People really don't understand, like, whatever it takes. Like, like people think that that's just words. Like, I really mean it. Like, whatever it takes, because the goal is the only thing that matters. How tired you are doesn't matter. How how out of ideas you are doesn't matter. How big your idea doesn't matter. How small your idea is doesn't matter. Just being relentlessly focused on the one thing is what's important. Now, I learned this in my early career with real estate, right? And for me, what drags that energy out of me is absolute aggression and absolute negativity. So I embrace negativity to empower me in a positive way. Whereas a lot of people try and stay away from negativity. No, I want to feel angry because I understand how motivated, and not even motivated, how inspired anger gets me. Now, I'm not angry from a perspective of hate. I'm angry from, in a weird way, I'm angry from a perspective of love. And I think that is the driving force that actually gets somebody to do something in a productive way. Whenever your emotions are coming from a negative place, from a hateful place, that's when you get destructive results. When whatever your emotion is, even if it's anger, if it's coming from a position of like wanting to do better because you have love and respect for yourself and for your family and for everyone around you, that now creates positive results. And I think this applies, by the way, not just to Bitcoin. I think it applies to everything.
I think I'm gonna get a little bit personal here, and I'm gonna use this as kind of like an advice seeking session. So obviously, a lot of my audience is, in their 20s, they're in college, but I want to know specifically. So I've thought a lot about this getting to 1 Bitcoin, and I've thought a lot about, how I want to put aside the money and the things that I want to build and create in order to get me to that goal. But what I want to ask you is, if you were my age, like in today's time, what were some of the things that you would implement kind of early to set yourself up on the right path?
Nothing, the only skill that really matters is the conversion of value into currency. That's the only skill that
Okay.
really matters. Everything else is an ancillary skill that gets you to this point. So if you just focus on that point, then everything else, if you just accept, I've got to be relentless, and the only skill that really matters is turning value into currency, now you can basically have anything you want, right? So, a lot of people will do, and yeah, I see young people do this all the time, is they'll focus on, oh, I'm learning sales, or I'm learning, like, I guess for what you do to make it more appropriate, I'm learning vibe coding, right? Like, I'm learning, I don't know, whatever it is, whatever these things are that people keep learning but never producing. And that's because the actual only skill that matters is creating, turning, and using the alchemy of life that allows you to turn value into currency. Everything else doesn't really matter. It's how you get to that doesn't really matter. If a 20-year-old turns and vibe codes their way to create value, turns it into currency to own Bitcoin, versus, a 20-year-old, learns how to drive a car for someone to turn value into currency to get the Bitcoin. It doesn't matter. How doesn't matter, but everyone's focused on the skill of the how, rather than understanding that skill is the alchemy of turning that value into currency so you can actually get what you want.
Interesting. So would you say then the idea of entrepreneurship, the idea of setting something up now, is that something that you would encourage, like more young people to get out and, start creating things?
Not just create, again, that's the thing. There's a distinction there. It's not just creating things. Because I see a lot of young people like creating absolutely pointless bullshit, right? It
Okay.
is it is create it is identifying value and then turning value into currency. That gap is the skill that matters, right? Now you can do that from a good place, you can do that from a negative place, you can do that from all different types of perspectives, and that's really the skill that matters. Everything else is kind of irrelevant. Like, if I tell you that, okay, your job is to make $1 million, or not even $1 million, because we're only trying to get to 1 Bitcoin and the price is down. So your job is to make 75 grand, right? 75,000 US dollars. And if you don't do that within the next 3 months, you're going to die. I just changed it there, right? Like, I just
Yeah.
changed the energy there a little bit. That is what you need. It is that relentless, because you are going to die. And that's when I say, like, for me, the energy of anger and force is what it takes. And I think that's what it takes for most people, but I think most people like to lie about it until they get to that point. Um, but we live in a happy hippie world, so I got to allow, a little bit of positivity in there. So, yeah, like I would just get to that point, whatever that point is, that switch in your brain. Like I got to get as much of this thing as possible. For me, I was keep buying more than obviously one Bitcoin, but I was looking for cash everywhere. I was looking for cash everywhere once it made sense to me. Once Bitcoin made sense, I was going after it everywhere. Business, investments, you know, new stuff that I could do, like refinancing, like every pathway, because it wasn't about getting to 1 Bitcoin for me, it was about getting to as much as possible.
When did Bitcoin start making sense for you, actually?
2020. Until then, I thought
Okay.
it was a big scam.
Interesting. How did that conversion kinda happen?
So I have a group of friends and, we're all investors, basically. We all do different things, but we're all investors. And we used to cuss each other out and cuss out Bitcoiners in our little group chat. And, during the worldwide flu season that we had, um, I was walking around a park in London. And a friend of mine called me from our group chat. And he said, "Listen, I know you're about to cuss me out, but I have just decided to invest a significant portion into Bitcoin." And my instant reaction was to cuss him out. And he said, he stopped me halfway through me cussing him out. And he said, "Look, we're not going to have this conversation until you've read the Bitcoin standard," and hung up on me. And I was like, this motherfucker just hung up on me. Right. So, um, again, we're friends, but I take him very seriously. We're in a group for a reason. We're part of the strike force for a reason. And so I downloaded the Bitcoin Standard on audiobook because that's how I like to consume. And I started listening to it. Literally within 5 minutes of that phone call, I started listening to the Bitcoin Standard, basically having these preconceived notions that this is a bunch of bullshit. And Saifedean, is talking his whatever. And I was in gold and silver at the time. So I kind of understood the narrative that he was painting. And then the next day, I was walking around the same park finishing the book. So it was the second half of the book. And he mentions this idea of stock to flow. And as a gold guy, the concept of stock to flow just made sense to me. And as he said it, he didn't even need to finish the part of the book. He just had to say stock to flow. And I just realized like the matrix just opened up because I was like, I have been looking at Bitcoin as an equity and I should have been looking at it as a commodity. And it just instantly just made sense. It was a very weird moment. It gives me goosebumps to this day. And from that moment, I took my phone out. I had a Coinbase account because me and my friend 2 years before that had bought some Bitcoin and sold it 2 weeks later, doubled our money, and thought we were really great geniuses. So I had a Coinbase account. So I opened up the Coinbase account. It was still linked to my bank account. So I instantly wired money. I instantly wired 50 grand and bought Bitcoin as I'm walking home because I've just like realized that I've screwed this shit up. Like I've just completely and utterly fucked this up. And I had this overwhelming panic come over me. So yeah, that was it. That was the moment that got my head straight.
What a moment. I wish I had a cool, like, Bitcoin story like that was just, like, one moment, but
What's your story?
mine came from my parents, because I mean, I've spoken to you about my dad. He's a big time Bitcoiner. He got my mom into it, then he got me into it once I came to college and I was a bit, like, older and I was able to understand money with a clearer head. So he sat me down, made me watch What's the Problem, and I was like, "Okay, this makes sense. This is why my rent is going up all the time." And then consuming more and more Bitcoin knowledge, reading the books, watching podcasts, watching your podcast, actually, and everything just kinda started to come together, and now I'm at this, like, time in my life where graduation is coming so, so soon, and I'm trying to think of ways that I can form a career path, but also financially secure myself to be able to do the things that I want to do,
Yeah, the
and
real
not
world
have
is
to
coming at you.
it's terrifying.
Yeah, and it's even more terrifying because, when I was your age, it's like, you know, you kind of you definitely knew that you weren't gonna stay in one career forever, right? When I was your age. But you kinda knew, like, the path that you were gonna go down, right? At least,
Yeah,
like, you kinda knew, okay, like, it's gonna probably be investments, like, what is it gonna be? And now the path that you're staring at and that your generation is now staring down the barrel of is you have absolutely no clue what this turns into. Not in 15 years, not in 20 years. You have no clue what this turns into in 5 years.
exactly.
Because I've been screwing. I'm not a tech person, right? I'm not like you, right? I'm not a tech person. I've been screwing around with AI stuff and OpenClaw and stuff like that, and just seeing how it works. Because again, one of those skills to be able to the desire to see how this works. Because again, look at that competition element, right? And this is what I mean. There has to be a relentlessness about you. All of my friends that are wealthy and that are entrepreneurial are focused on Bitcoin and AI. That's it. They are learning everything they can. I'm talking about people like I've got a friend who owns who's a doctor. She is focused on AI because she's terrified about how it could screw her clinic up, right? So it's like that's look at the competition element that your generation now faces. Because not only are you dealing with your cohort, but you're also now dealing with my cohort that understands business and is now slowly understanding AI, and it understands how to take, you know, a new technology or a new thing and turn it into currency, right? Like we've been doing this for 20 years ahead of you. So it's a very, very daunting period for your generation. But that comes with its own opportunities as well as its own negatives. So that you've got to navigate that. But every time I use OpenClaw, I'm like, you know, I think I said this to my group of friends. I was like, anyone who works in a coffee shop on a laptop is fucked. They're done.
Yeah.
If you are not needed in an office around a table because you have something that allows ideation to happen in a special way for your core team, and you can sit in a loud coffee shop with your fucking matcha soy latte bullshit and tap on a laptop on a shitty MacBook Air because your boss just needs you to click buttons, you're done. You're done. It's not like you're going to find something. You are done. It is 3 years max. I give you. The coffee shops are going to
Yeah.
be empty, which is good because I like coffee shops. So we got to get people out of here.
This is it's really, really interesting that you bring this up because this is something that I try to emphasize on my channel as well, right? We've been talking all about building with AI and then protecting our wealth with Bitcoin. But it's I think there's so many people who are still apprehensive to AI. And what I've been seeing, especially on X, is that people of your generation, kind of you and my dad's age, you are much more fluent and open to working with AI than I think people in my generation are. And that might be a really bit like a bit of a contradictory statement
Yeah, it
there.
is. Why
It's
is that?
not what
Why
you
do
would
you think
expect.
that is?
I think AI's just got a very bad rep. So as you said earlier, Gen Z is very focused on the collective, right? We're very focused on, how can we make sure that we're improving the world for all of humanity? And so we're constantly thinking some of us are constantly thinking about other people all of the time. And so AI coming in and taking jobs, ruining communities with environmental issues, uh, taking up water, all of these things that people start talking about, they come and they just they deter my gen from AI so much. I'll give you an example. So I have this friend and she wants to set up her guess like her designer label because she makes clothes and great stuff. I think she's got a huge potential there, but the one thing that's deterring her is she hasn't made the website yet. Because she's like, I don't know how to code. She's like, can you do it for me? I was like, girl, if you tell me to do it for you, I'm gonna go, straight into Claude AI and I'm gonna ask it to do it the same way you would. Just use these things. Get your website done in about 10 hours. But she's like, no, I'm not gonna do that because I'm not gonna use AI. And so it's
Hold on, but why though?
interesting.
Why is she saying I'm not gonna use AI?
Because of it's I think it's mostly because of the environmental issues that everyone is so concerned about, that they're like, "We don't wanna promote them, we don't want to, ruin the planet, give the billionaires
Is
more
this
money,"
for
and it's a
real?
bit like,
This
I
is
I wish
real?
I was kidding, yeah, yeah. Um
This is great news. This is fantastic for my generation.
For your generation, yes, but it
Absolutely. This
screws
is all you
over
just made me the
mine.
happiest person on earth. This is
Um,
cool.
well, I'm glad you're happy because it's been a huge, kinda like just, like, blockage in my mission and
Wow,
trying to
your
get, like.
generation is cooked even more than I thought.
Yeah, 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 or it's really bad. Um, and so I try to push the building with AI and protecting with Bitcoin. But I think because these two things have such a negative rep in kind of mainstream media, we start to see a lot of apprehension. So I had a question in mind, and I'm blanking on that a little bit.
This is amazing though. Like you have no idea how amazing what you just said is. I want everyone because there's obviously going to be people that from my audience watching this podcast. So,
Yeah.
I want everyone who's my audience to just realize that we have got these younger generation completely and utterly in the right place that we need them. You just railroad all of them, take the wealth that they should have because they don't want it. So we got to go in there and we got to learn the AI. We got to learn how to talk to the computers. They're going to make it easier for us to talk to them anyway. Like I see, you know what my workflow is on OpenClaw. So everyone would think that this is like requires some tech knowledge. I have Claude Max open on
Mhm.
Anthropic, and I go on my phone and I turn the voice function on, and I talk to it, and I say, "This is what I want this robot to do for me."
Mhm.
And I just sit there and refine it. And then it goes, oh, so this is what you wanted to do? I'm like, no, that's not what I fucking wanted to do. I wanted to do X. And then I shout at Claude Max. And then we sit there hours until it's done, until Claude understands what I want to do. And it says, okay, so you want this kind of business structure, you want this, that, and the other, whatever. And I was like, yes, that's what I want. And then I say, help me talk to the robot and help me understand, write the prompts that I need to tell the Mac Mini. And so it now helps me program the robot based on what I've said. Do you
Okay,
understand how
yeah.
amazing that is? Do you understand how amazing that is for someone, for a non-tech person like me? So if you're telling me that the younger generation doesn't even want the wealth that can come from AI, even better. Great. Everyone who's from my audience is a slightly older generation. We got these guys cooked. You thought they were going to come and take over? No, no, no. We've got them cooked.
And this is part of the reason actually that I wanted to have you on the podcast, because there are some Gen Z who are not in this boat. I would put myself in, very, very bullish on AI, very bullish on Bitcoin. And there are a lot of others that are out there like me. And for us, trying to get to the place where we're able to talk with our friends about our goals of wanting to get to Bitcoin, wanting to get to AI, it is almost, I mean, it's virtually impossible to get positive feedback from there. So, I mean, to that, all I have to say is.
Pretty similar to when I was young too. Like it's not a lot of my friends understood what I was doing when I was 17 years old, trying to negotiate property deals. Like no one understood. So that's a commonality there. I think
Mhm.
that's just, a generational thing.
What do you think are the most kinda, like, I guess, insidious mental traps or, like, lifestyle mistakes that you see stopping people, I guess my age now, or, in your 20s, when you were in your 20s, from ever I guess, really, like, achieving their goals, or in this case, like, getting to 1 Bitcoin. It's just I mean, what is really going on with people?
Yeah, like I constantly see people trying to live for today, right?
Are you
And
not
it's like,
someone that would say living for today is important?
I guess I'm a man, so from my perspective, living for today is important, but protecting tomorrow for the people that I care about and I love and
Okay.
is way more important. It's they're both important, but one means more, right? One means more to me.
Right.
And I guess that's, credit to my parents and the people around me to instill those values. But yeah, look, at the end of the day, life is for living. But at the same time, you have to be creating something for the future. If I didn't think that my future was important, then why would I hold Bitcoin, right? I would just
Yeah.
spend
Yeah.
earn the money, spend the money. Um, but clearly, I'm putting a limit on my current life experience because I believe that tomorrow and the next 10 years and the next 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, 100 years, 200 years, I have a vision for that. So I think that's really one of the biggest traps right now is that a lot of young people think like the future is irrelevant. And that's one way of thinking. But, the young people who are not falling for this are going to win. Like it's so easy right now. Like the fact that you're telling, when I was younger, there would at least be people who wanted to be successful. So even though they might not have wanted to do it through entrepreneurship, but they wanted to be successful. Because I think, growing up with that immigrant kind of, even though I'm first generation born in the UK, there was still that touch point, the immigrant touch point. Whereas now, I don't see that anymore. Like I don't feel that aggression. But the good news is when I do, it's more than when I was for some reason. I don't understand why, but the young people that are ambitious are more, but there's just not that many of them. So, I think that's overall a positive thing. But yeah, the life traps are that people just think tomorrow doesn't matter. Like it's so utterly stupid to think that.
What are some of the, I guess, habits? And this could be, financial with Bitcoin or just maybe lifestyle habits, anything that you would encourage some of these, these winners who are actually like thinking about, accomplishing their goals, you would encourage them towards?
Get rid of the money as quick as possible. As quick as you earn it, the faster you should get rid of it. Because if it's sitting there in front of you, you are going to be tempted by this dumb, over dopaminergic world that we live in. So you've got to have the fastest funnel to earning the money, seeing it, paying your expenses, and getting it in what I would suggest, which is Bitcoin, right? Get it out of sight, out of mind, immediately gone, right? Like
Wow.
just absolute relentlessly get rid of the money. Do not wait. Do not sit there. Wait until you have, $10,000 in order to move it to Bitcoin or whatever it is. Immediately pay your expenses, put enough aside for taxes if you still live in a high tax jurisdiction, and get it away, get it out of sight, out of mind, into savings. Bitcoin is savings to me, into savings that will grow it until you hit a certain whatever the target is.
And would you say that for young people, going all into Bitcoin is probably the best way to get rid of your money?
In terms of a savings technology, yeah, I mean, from yes, that second step, yes, yeah. But what a lot of young people want to do because they're just lazy pieces of shit is they want to trade, they want to invest. I mean, they want to trade, they want to speculate, they want to like do that stuff, and that's where people end up losing money. 95% of people that try and trade lose money. This is not unique for Bitcoin. This is unique. This is like universal across all markets.
Hmm.
Traders lose money generally. So, your idea of building with AI and then protecting with Bitcoin is that's really the answer. It's always been the answer, right? You build with something, with a business, and then you protect it. And your protection was real estate, gold, stocks, and now it's Bitcoin. But the formula's always been the same.
Yeah, it is interesting to think about kind of some of the comparisons between Bitcoin as a savings account versus other forms of assets as savings accounts in the past. But that is getting a little bit off topic for the episode. So to bring things kind of back here, there's a lot of advice on the internet from Bitcoiners telling young people to just, DCA like some $50, $100 a week and wait
Losing.
like 20 years. And I saw that you had a post about this when I was kind of going through your X in preparation for this. So I wanted to get deeper into this. I mean, why do you say that, this is like a losing strategy?
Well, I actually funded a study, but years ago. I funded a Bitcoiner who wanted to do a study on DCA versus going all in, right? Now,
Okay.
people don't really understand what DCA is, right? So, true DCA, when you say it to an investor, true DCA is I have $100,000 and I'm going to put in $1,000 a day for 100 days, regardless of what happens. That's true DCA. The capital sits there until every day $1,000 goes in. If you get a paycheck on the 15th and then you buy Bitcoin, that's not a DCA. That is a monthly lump sum purchase. So
Hmm.
true DCAing it doesn't work. The returns are always better lump sum. The reason why people say DCA is because it allows people to build up their comfort when it comes to the volatility of the asset. And for that, I say stop being a sissy. Understand it's a
Okay.
volatile asset. Understand that it's going to go up and down. Understand that it's a 4 to 10 year minimum hold and jump.
So on that note then, I mean, let's take me as an example, right? With the goal of trying to hit 1 Bitcoin in, the foreseeable future, what is a kind of maybe like a brutal, but like an achievable timeline? And how would, I go about forcing that kind of velocity and acceleration without burning out or falling, prey to any of the FUD or the fear in the market?
Well, you've already highlighted one reason why you won't get there because you're worried about burning out.
Point.
There's no
Point.
Michael Jordan doesn't care about burning out. There's a great book that I think every young person should read. It's called Relentless. That's why I love that word. It's by Tim Grover.
Relentless. Okay.
And it goes into Tim Grover was the PT for Michael Jordan. So he understands a little bit about what it takes to have that mindset. And if you're worried about burning out, you're worried about your spiritual health, you're worried about your hair falling out, you're worried about, I don't know, you're worried about stuff, then that is the blockage.
So
You're
if you're
either
worried, you don't
relent.
want it bad enough.
There you go.
Okay. That's a really interesting way to frame things. So I think you're the first person that I've been able to talk to that's been so pushy and that's been super direct and like willing to call out a lot of the behaviors, which I mean, I of course I appreciate. But it's very contradictory to a lot of the sentiment that we see in the Bitcoin community where people are like, it's okay to start from wherever you are. Just put a little bit into Bitcoin. That's where that like narrative of $5, $10 a day or a week
Yeah,
comes
that's
from,
why
right?
that's why they're all still broke.
I guess that's a way to put it, yeah. So
No, no, no. I just want to point out a lot of young people right now, like when I was younger, one of the lessons that I got taught is you learn from people that have what you want, right? Like I really started focusing on my health and getting into like absolute peak physical shape, February of last year. It was not a focus for me, right? And however people want to see it, the money was more important because of blueprint, whatever it was, for
Mhm.
whatever reason, the money was more important, right?
Yeah.
February last year, I decided that no, like this is, I have, there's a point where you get to where it's like, I feel good now. Like, okay, I want to actually focus on something else. And I wanted to focus on my health. So all of last year from February onwards, I lost, well, you're American, so I need to convert it now. So it would be like 40, 44 pounds,
Yeah, okay.
right? Like 20 kilos between
Wow.
February and December. December 16th, like December is like the month for me where I sit around and think like, what did I learn in this year? What was important? What was useful? What do I improve for next year? What are the changes I need to make, et cetera, right? So that's really like the month where I do that. December 16th, well, just mid-December, let's say, I decided I am now like only listening to people who are extremely wealthier than me and jacked. And I'm lucky because I got friends. I've got really good friends that are extremely rich and extremely jacked, right?
Nice.
And so I called them. And one of them, his name's Jason, told me, you need to start learning about peptides. You need to start learning about, you need to get on this shit right now. This guy is extremely more wealthier than I am. And he's extremely way more jacked than I am. And so I thought, okay, my ears are now closed to anyone who is not rich and jacked, right? Because when I was fat, do you know how many fat people tried to give me health advice? An insane amount, right? Insane amount. They all got their reasons and their own stories and whatever else, right? So 2025 for me from February was about listening to really healthy people. Worked. December, rich and jacked. That's it. If you're not rich, you're not jacked, I don't listen to you. Simple as that. So I lost 44 pounds February 2025 to December 16th of 2025. Between December 18th of 2025 and today, February 16th, I'm down 22 pounds,
That's
right?
incredible.
Do you understand the difference here? So that's
Yeah.
because I shut my ears to people who don't have what I don't want, or rather what I want. So that's my point here. This is how you generate leverage and momentum. You only listen to people that have what you want, right? So I've compressed a whole year into 2 months.
Insane progress. I mean, I'm still, like, absolutely surprised by hearing that.
But this is what Bitcoiners do. They listen to broke
Yeah.
motherfuckers. Excuse my language. I apologize. But they listen to broke people talk about accumulating wealth because it's Bitcoin. It's this new thing. It's this, no, it's the same goal. It's the same game. The game is wealth. The game is assets. So you should be listening to people that know how to accumulate assets, not to people that are broke and hugging trees all day.
Mhm. So I guess it sounds like I just need to be listening to people that have the one Bitcoin that I am trying to get towards. What do you
Like
think
what?
the
Like so. Hold on. So
importance.
hold on. So like next, right? So after I do this, so
Mhm.
my goal was focus on my health. So I listen to healthy people, made some progress. Now I listen to rich and jacked people. As soon as I do that, as soon as my goals get hit on that, I'm listening to only talking to people who are in really good relationships because that's my future. That's my path. That's my next thing.
Mhm.
right? Now you got to be rich, jacked, and in a good marriage for me to listen to you. Otherwise, I don't listen to you anymore. That's coming next. But you got to plan this out. Like, there's no otherwise, like, everyone's worried about too many people and everyone's got their own damn opinions. And the world that you grow up in, everyone believes that their opinion is worth a damn. The world that I grew up in, when I was talking about like East London, it would be like Manhattan real estate guys to you guys, like New York, Manhattan real estate guys. When I grew up with that, I was taught very early on that my opinion was worth as much, as much as a piece of shit until I earned my opinion, until I generated results that allowed my opinion to have any value. So that's what I speak on. If you ever see me, people, love or hate my personality. And it's like, if you ever see me in an environment with someone who has what I want and I don't have it yet, I'm a different person. Not like this. I'm a different person. The only time I express my opinion in this forceful way is when we're talking about topics that I have domain experience on, because I've earned my opinion.
Mhm.
And that's it. Like, it's just, you gotta only listen to people that have what you want. Forget everyone. They have no value. They have zero. If someone hasn't earned what you want, they have zero value to your life. And all young people do, it's all not even young people, all people do is sit around listening to these people talk shit. It's utter horse shit. Like, imagine, you said you're like people. So imagine someone in real estate. Do you know how many people sit around listening to people about and talking to people about real estate that
Oh,
have
too
never
many.
bought a property? It's
Too many.
amazing.
Too many. Yeah. Do you think the importance of, I guess, the people that you surround yourself with and the people whose content you consume can really hinder maybe how fast or how determined you are then to reach your goals?
Yeah, and there used to be this saying that you are the five people that you spend most time with, right?
Yeah.
And that saying's kind of lost a little bit of value because now you're so plugged into the phone, you're so plugged into content that it's really the content you're listening to is almost more important than the five people that you hang out with. And so you
Yeah.
have to be conscious about these things. Like, I am ruthless about like who I'm around. If there are people around me that don't hold values that I want to hold, that I want to exude, I do everything I can to try and get rid of those people. Right. And people go, oh, but I'm gonna be lonely. Well, yeah, you're gonna be lonely until someone that shares those values is now gonna find you. And then you're gonna have a new friend. That's how this works. So you gotta be comfortable with just not being around people that don't live up to what you want,
Mhm.
the life that you want. Because I'm
Yeah,
sure you've said it, right? A lot of young people are super comfortable with living with poverty.
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not. Absolutely not. Under any circumstances. If the people I'm around are not focused every single day, I consider it like my strike force. Like, we're all F-35 fighters and we're all going to bomb the living shit out of a target, and we're all just going to approach it from different ways, but the target's the same. And a lot of young people don't think like that. And I've spent time curating, and I constantly curate. Like, for you, right? Like, you're obviously taking advantage and trying to figure out how to leverage what's going on in AI and et cetera, et cetera. You should not be talking to a single human being that is not making money with AI. Like, the only reason you're talking to those people is so that you can feel good. That's it.
Pretty
That's
much.
it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the only
Yeah.
reason. If you spent the next month only having conversations with people that are making money using AI, you would start making money using AI, like, way more, because you're only talking to those people. One of the first things I did is that I reached out to like Bitcoiners that are using, you know, the Mac Mini robot.
Mhm.
And I said, guys, I'm now using this, and what we should do is create like a sub Telegram group of people that are actually actively building on this new system and learning about it. And so now we're in a Telegram group with a few people that are actively building it, like actively doing stuff on it. And I'm
Yeah.
only interested in talking to people that are interested in doing stuff with AI now. Even from my perspective, I don't spend much time talking to Bitcoiners anymore.
Interesting.
Why is that always surprising to
'Cause
people?
it's
Like,
I mean, it's a lot of people, view Bitcoin as this thing that bonds and connects people. So I guess for you to be a Bitcoiner and say that you don't really talk to other people who are
I ain't trying
Bitcoiners
to, I'm
anymore,
not trying
it's
to bond. I'm not trying to bond with, I'm trying to bond with my strike force, with my group, with my people that are focused on a single target. I
Mhm,
spend time with my real friends. I spend time with people that really care about me. I spend time with people I really care about. And I spend time with people that are focused on the same things that I'm focused on. That's who I'm talking to. I have no interest in talking to someone because they're a Bitcoiner. That doesn't make any sense for me whatsoever. If we're focused on the same type of life, if we're focused on the same type of things, if we're focused on, then I want to talk to you. I do not want to talk to you just because you're a Bitcoiner.
it's a really interesting.
I make my opinion. I have my opinion. I speak to people that, like right now, I'm only talking to Bitcoiners that are interested in TradFi as well. If you're a Bitcoiner and you think that the future of Bitcoin is teaching, empanada stand makers somewhere in some South American shithole about how to accept Bitcoin, I'm not interested. You don't understand how the real world works. I'm interested, like last week, I had meetings with 3 private bankers here in Dubai, trying to ask them, like, are you lending on IBIT yet? Right? So now I'll call my friends in the US and say, did you speak to your private banker? Did you speak to your private banker in Switzerland? What's going on? That's who I want to talk to when it comes to
Mhm.
Bitcoin. That's moving Bitcoin forward. Because now 2 of them that I spoke to that didn't do it, one of them did, surprisingly. 2 of them that didn't do it have sent emails up the upline through their team to go, why aren't we doing this? That's moving Bitcoin forward. Trying to teach someone to accept $3 for an empanada to like in Bitcoin, which they're gonna sell immediately and turn into US dollars because they got real bills to pay and real life to deal with, while you feel happy with your fucking Twitter post, is not interesting. I'm interested in accumulators. Every single person I know that is a serious wealth accumulator has accumulated Bitcoin and is moving Bitcoin forward and is now focused on what's going on with AI. Like, if you are now at the current state that we're in going, should I get Bitcoin? When the C suite of Wall Street is in on Bitcoin, the C suite of the US government is in on Bitcoin, every time anything happens to Bitcoin, the Treasury Secretary of the United States of America is out there talking about how great Bitcoin is. You are a low IQ individual. Like, if the question is no, we dealt with this a lot. My generation dealt with this. We dealt with, should you own Bitcoin,
Mhm.
right? The people that came before me dealt with Bitcoin's real, right?
Yeah.
Could stand on their shoulders and deal with, should you own Bitcoin for the Mind Hive? That's
Mhm.
all dealt with now, right? So if you're now an individual and the conversation is, should I own some Bitcoin? You are a low IQ individual that cannot read signals. Like, that's it. The question isn't, should I own it? The question is, how much? That's the question now. The question is 1%, 5%, 20%, 50%, what percent? That's the question. If you can't see and read all of these signals and go, you know what? Larry Fink is in on Bitcoin. Maybe I should get some just in case it catches on. You're a low IQ individual. You're thick. Like, you're stupid. Like, there's no other way to say it. you know? So I have no desire to talk to those people anymore.
No, absolutely. I do agree. And your perspective on kind of surrounding yourself with the people who have the things that you want, it gives me a lot to think about. But I want to go a bit deeper on, what you were saying about, I guess, the younger generation, like, still debating on whether or not they should even care about Bitcoin, let alone buy it. Do you think that if someone if people in their 20s, they're not looking at it now and they're not starting to accumulate their stack now, eventually they're just gonna be priced out completely and Bitcoin will be not even in a question for them anymore?
From my perspective, you're cooked already. Like, like
Okay, I guess then,
from
like,
my yeah,
burnt.
from my you're cooked already. Like, what are you talking about? Right now, you should be panicking. Right now, you should have real panic because if you don't come from a wealthy family that can figure out how to get you a Bitcoin allocation real quickly, now you have to earn the money.
Mhm,
So now you need to figure out many different things. And if you're worried about, the latest, I don't know, like when I was younger, we used to worry about the latest rap beef. I don't know what it is nowadays, right? But whatever you're worried about, if it's not this, then yeah, you're cooked. You got one chance. This is a fight. Like my dad was in real estate, right? And I was in real estate because of my dad. But like, let's imagine like in London, the real estate market just took off, like just went. And there was just no way for me to get involved. Well, I could learn what my dad learned and taught me, and I could bring it to Dubai, for example, right? A lot of British real estate people brought their skills to Dubai and they've made fortunes, right? You can't do that with Bitcoin. Like once it's done, it's done. Like it's the only asset humanity has ever seen that has absolute finality of scarcity. Absolute. There is no making more Bitcoin.
mhm.
So whatever you accumulate, your bloodline has. That's it. Like there's no chance of picking up, going somewhere else and playing the game because Bitcoin's the same asset in London, Dubai, Singapore, Shanghai, Miami, New York, wherever, Switzerland, wherever. It's the same asset. And, right now, who's accumulating? It's the top 1%. That's who's accumulating. So after, I think about my time in Bitcoin and content and everything else. Sometimes I sit here wondering whether it was all a waste of time or not. Because the number one group of cohort of people that were selling their Bitcoin in this last drawdown were people with a small amount of Bitcoin, right? Like under 10 Bitcoin. The
Yeah,
top 1% have been accumulating. Even in this whole drawdown, BlackRock's IBIT product has had a 6% sell rate. That's a 94% holder rate, right? So it's like, what was was there a point? Because Larry Fink can orange pill way more people with one interview than 5 years of British HODL's work, right? Way more capital. He can influence way more capital, rather. I
yeah.
can maybe influence more individual people. But Larry Fink does one interview and billions of dollars start moving. And Bitcoin is a monetary network. It's not a human network. It's not a how many people can you hold hands with and sing Kumbaya network. It's not a how many people can we all do psilocybin mushrooms or whatever the hell you guys are doing nowadays and feel good about life. And that's not it. It's a monetary network. How much of it you own is important. That's why getting to 1 Bitcoin is important. Because if you own 0.1 Bitcoin, what are you going to do? Bitcoin's going to be $10 million. You own 0.1, and now you're worth $1 million in 20 years. $1 million ain't enough today. Like if any young person sits there and goes, you know what, $1 million, yeah, it ain't enough today. Like, what are we talking about? Right? Like you live in the US, you live in Dubai, you live in London, you live in, it's not enough. It's not enough
Yeah.
today. So in 20 years, you think $1 million is going to be enough? because you got to zero point 0.1 Bitcoin watching YouTubers that are fucking broke telling you that getting to zero point 0.1 Bitcoin is good enough and it's going to take care of your life, all because of the friends and the people that you meet along the way. They're not going to give a shit about you in 20 years.
On that note, then, what's kind of a roadmap that you would lay out for, I guess me in terms of, getting a job, paying off the expenses, and then putting into Bitcoin? Would you say, like, just forget everything else, pay what you need to, and everything that you have left over into Bitcoin?
Yeah, yeah, basically
Yeah.
that's what you got to do.
Okay.
Like the opportunity that you have right now, especially because, you know, you're in a position to understand AI, the the market gap for you in order to extract value into currency is helping old people install AI. So that's the value, and you doing it for them turns it into currency. That's the trade. Everything's a trade. That's the trade. The trade is you're old, your business needs AI because you're tired of hiring these 20-year-olds that don't want to work, and I can help you create AI processes for your business that will work like you have three extra employees, and I'm going to charge you $15,000 to get this done. And this is the results that you can generate as a result of that, or $10,000 or $5,000 or whatever it is, right? Charge $10,000, you get seven of them, you got one Bitcoin next week.
Where do you see the kind of the world and the workforce heading when it comes to AI and, job losses and displacement? This might be a bit of a loaded question.
I
Um,
don't know. I think that's way above my pay grade at this point. Like
okay.
I can't even fathom what's going to happen. But all I know is that if your job is reliant on you sitting at a laptop outside of an office, you're screwed. You're done. You're finished. I don't care how good you feel about yourself. I don't care, how much, the world appreciates you for how happy you are and what energy you bring and this, that, and the other. You're cooked. You are utterly cooked. Because business owners don't give a shit. We put up with the shit, but we don't give a shit. So the first chance to fire someone like that, we're going to take it.
I had my dad on for so we do a, like, segment
I
every
love those
Sunday.
segments, by the way. I love
Oh,
them.
thank
They're
you.
awesome. They're awesome.
Thank you. He'd be really happy to hear that you like them. But so we did one on this Sunday that we just put out today, actually. And we had a conversation about AI because have you seen the article by Matt Schumer that was going viral of
I haven't. I haven't.
earlier
I
this
haven't.
week?
I know that it's bookmarked, but I haven't read it yet.
Okay. So it's talking just a lot about, the importance of learning AI and utilizing it because of all of the job losses that it's going to create. And people are very, very divided on that. And so I had him on the segment just to talk a bit about the ways that young people can start leveraging AI and uh, we touched a bit on the idea of what you were saying about, if helping old people who don't understand AI. If you're young and you're someone that does, that is a golden market opportunity right there. There's so much potential in that for you to create something and for you to monetize it like this. So it's just really interesting that you brought that up actually, because now that gets me thinking a lot, about things. Honestly, this entire conversation has given me a lot to think about. I've got a sheet of paper here that I've just, like, scribbled so many things on that yeah, so I guess I just wanna wrap this back up and bring it back to being in your early 20s, trying to get to 1 Bitcoin. What do you do? I mean, there's so much doom and gloom in the world, and maybe if you could just kinda condense everything and, give it back to us in, like, a quick little, explainer, that would be great.
Firstly, you got to understand that you need to get there. right? Like you gotta actually understand that you need to get to 1 Bitcoin for
Mhm.
your future. You gotta understand all that. Then you gotta understand that, okay, there's only one way to get to 1 Bitcoin. Let's buy it, right? Just buying it. Then you gotta sit there and make a list of, okay, what are the ways that I can buy it, right? You might be able to go get a loan from your family. I don't know. Go get a loan from your family. It's probably going to be interest free. Pay them 500 a month and pay it off over time. But now you have the Bitcoin now, right? There's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is to actually create a process, the alchemy of turning value into currency. That's probably going to be the way that most people have to do it. And then just fucking doing it. That's it. There is no hocus pocus around it. It's hard work. It's going to be painful. It's going to be, you know, devastating. You're going to feel worthless. You're going to feel ecstatic. You're going to feel like shit and happy and whatever. And you're going to it's a whole journey, but there's only one way to get it done, and that's to do it.
It's
That's
just to
it.
do it. I think that's gonna be the title for this episode, just do it. Which actually this reminds me of something. So you've got your 3 rules of Bitcoin. Buy Bitcoin, shut the F up, get fabulously wealthy. Are these still applicable to someone who's in their 20s, or would you say, like, that there's something that you wanna add here and there?
No, all of my stuff, I decide, a lot of people are asking me like, okay, are you going to change some things based on how high the Bitcoin price gets? And I'd be honest, I thought about it as soon as we crossed 100,000. The moment we crossed 100,000, December 24 was like a really bittersweet moment for me. I was living in South America at the time. And I
Cool.
remember, yeah, I remember going onto the balcony on a great apartment, like look over the entire city. I remember lighting a cigar, just sitting on my balcony, and my phone's blowing up. Everyone's super excited, whatever. And I was like, yeah, it's great for me and my people.
Mhm.
And I just remember looking at this whole city and going, but everyone's fucked. That's the thing. Like, I see Bitcoin as dancing about price action and whatever. It kind of takes me to that Big Short moment when Brad Pitt's character's like, just don't fucking dance. And I don't really think people understand what it means when 1 Bitcoin is 200,000, 300,000, 400,000, 500,000, a million. Like, it's a very serious thing, and people don't really tap into that. And my job as a YouTube entertainer, you know, um, doesn't allow for a moment like this where you're like, wait a second, like, yes, the price can go up, and we all want it to go up, but what does that mean for the rest of the world? You know? So yeah, I mean, it was a bittersweet moment. That 100,000 was a really bittersweet moment for me.
Mhm.
So I decided during that period that I'm not going to change any part of my message because I don't want to be here forever. I'm not a YouTuber. I started off in real estate at 16 years old. Like, I'm an investor. My job is to see the future with money. That's it. That's my job. My job is to sit here and go, this is what's going to happen in the future. And I'm going to allocate my time and capital until everyone else sees it. And what turns me on is not sitting and having a social media presence and people coming up to me and going, oh, you're BritishHODL, this, that, and the other. It's great. It's fine. But that's not what excites me. What excites me is being right. I love being right.
It's a
That's
great
what
thing to
get
love.
that's what gets me excited. And I don't want to be here forever. I want that one day Bitcoin's at 500, at 100,000. Guess what percentage of the world can afford one Bitcoin at 100,000? What would you guess?
Oh, I don't even have an answer. Bitcoin at 100,000. I want to say maybe it'd be 10-20%.
What if I told you it was closer to 0.4%?
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Because think about it, right? If your property portfolio, let's say, is worth $5 million,
Yeah.
it's in the property. What are you going to do? Sell a bedroom, right? So, and then you got to convince people like my parents, who I had to sit there and bang their head against the wall, to actually buy some Bitcoin. Luckily, they did, because otherwise there would have been head-shaped marks in the wall. But you got to sit there and go, the thing that you've done for 35 years doesn't make sense anymore, and you have to do this. You have to buy this new thing. Nobody knows what's going to happen in the future. There was no ETFs. There was nothing when I was doing it. Larry Fink wasn't behind it. In fact, he was going on TV talking about how shit it is. And you got to fight against that to go, you got to do this. And then they did it, right? But an average property investor with $5 million doesn't have $100,000 of free capital lying around to buy a Bitcoin when they think it's
Point.
rat poison. So what happens at 200,000? We're already at 0.4%. What happens at 200,000? What happens at 300,000? What happens at 400,000? So
Just getting closer and closer.
I want my message to become irrelevant. I don't want to be heard in 10 years. It's got to become irrelevant. So I want to be a timestamp. And the only way that I can be a timestamp is by never changing my message. That's why at $3,500 when I bought my first Bitcoin, and at $126,000, and taking the entire ride from 3,500 to 64,000 to 35,000 to 69,000 to 15,500 to 126,000, my messages remain the same. Get to one Bitcoin.
Yeah, by all means necessary. I think I think that brings me to the end of all the questions that I had to ask, and all the things that I wanted to talk to you about. So, I mean, just thank you again for coming on. It really is so helpful to have conversations with somebody like you because it like snaps me out of this like kind of blurred reality that I have of like, oh yeah, I'm making the content. Oh yeah, it's going well right now, but this is not it. There's so much more that's left to do. And being reminded of that, being like consistently like told to just do it is exactly what I needed to hear. Yeah, I mean, thank you for coming on. I hope you enjoyed having this conversation and
This
your
is
time on
a
Orange
super
Peel.
important conversation. I think that, again, like, you took it in a direction that I think is going to be interesting. I don't think I've ever been in this direction, this far down this path of this direction of this podcast. So I think even my audience is gonna appreciate this in a different way. So it was really good.
That's good to hear. To everyone that is watching this, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I definitely did. This has been one of my favorite conversations to have so far, and it has given me a lot to think about. Um, I've got, a little page of notes and there's just a bunch of scribbles and stuff on it. So it's we've got a lot going on and I think you guys are going to start seeing a lot of this implemented in my content coming up in the next coming weeks. So I don't want to take too much time to sum things up. So all I'm going to say is just do it. And as always, stay curious, stay skeptical, and stay orange pilled. I'm your host, Nikki, and I will see you on Sunday for Satoshi Sundays number 6 with my dad.